Good morning, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Nice to see y'all. Nice to see you, Nancy Jean.
Nice to see you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thanks. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, too. Oh, looks like there's trouble in River City.
The
Or is
Irish have arrived.
that's the ego coming in, everybody.
hmm
Yeah.
Trying to guess. Do you know where the term gaslighting comes from?
No.
It comes from a very famous movie made in 1944. And it's because I saw that movie, I've never been able to forget the term. Ingrid Bergman plays the wife, and Charles Boyer, and these plays the evil husband.
I know this one.
Yeah. And he's screwing with her and he's trying to convince her she's insane. And her one savior is Joseph Cotton. And it's a very young Joseph Cotton, if you've not seen it. He's really young. And I met Joseph Cotton. I met Joseph Cotton when he was really old.
Wow.
But in the movie, the husband, the reason it's called gaslighting is it was back in the old Victorian days, and he dialed down the gas. So she'd be sitting in a room that was perfectly well lit, and then the gas would dim, and she'd go find him. She'd say, "Oh, the gas," and he goes, "No, it's not."
Ooh.
And anyway, the if you haven't ever seen the movie, you can Google it, and it will take you to the trailer that went to the movie theaters.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely wonderful because it has all that boom, 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 boom music that they used to have in those things.
Right. It's
But
Hitchcock, isn't it?
Yeah, Hitchcock. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It shows her at the end when she realizes he's trying to make her think she's nuts. And because that will make him, because she found a letter where she found a letter left by a woman he had killed in his house who was afraid. And if you can see the movie, watch the movie. It's incredible, even if you know what's going to happen next. But there's a scene that they show in the trailer where she's finally lost it. And she goes, "I could kill you now. No one would blame me. Everyone thinks I'm insane." And you see the real fear in his face. Oh my God, I've got my own Frankenstein monster and she could kill me. And it's really an intriguing idea. And once I saw it as a kid, and I never forgot the term getting gaslighted by people. And it is that's a concise term for what a lot of people have done to them in their lives.
Yeah. Awesomeness says that happened to her. And look at you now, because now you're so awesomeness. So it's amazing how you know, a lot of times narcissists feed on that.
Well,
And then
not just narcissist society.
yeah.
I was talking with a girlfriend of mine, and both of us were born with big bosoms from the time they started developing, and
Mhm.
how awful it was to be a teenage girl in the 60s if you had a D cup, because men would just come up and comment on it like you weren't a person, and like your whole being was defined by your boobs, and it made you not want to go out. It made you not want to go. And I'd complain to people, "Oh, well, you're so lucky you have them," and blah blah blah. And no, I'm not. Listen to what I'm saying about my personal experience with this. That's what gaslighting is to me. Is And when you have someone, it's like the wife who finds out her husband has a second bank account. Well, what's it for? Or I was reading an article about a woman who found out that the house that all of her earnings, she was going to be, they wanted her to be a stay home mom from day one. She was a stay home mom. And she found out that the house that she'd been supporting everything, her name wasn't on anything. She had nothing. If he took off, she was screwed. And he had a mother who kept telling him, "She's not good enough for you, so get rid of her." And it is what we're going to talk about is gaslighting. We gaslight ourselves too. And currently, one of my big rages is people who are gaslighting themselves about this administration, who only pick up the news that makes them feel abused and go hide in the corner and aren't taking steps. I had a friend, finally talked him out of it. Took 6 weeks, but now he's got a chat GPT set up so he can type in a letter and it will send it to all of the congressional people he needs to contact. He's in Texas with me, which means none of them are Democrats. And he also has a phone system set up that it will automatically dial, and then it records the calls, and he turns his calls into 5 calls without having to worry their system. Anyway, this has given him a new thing to do. This is how I'm going to go get him. And I'm like, good. It was so much better than I'd get these, look at this, and then there'd be attached some clip from a TV show. And yeah. I remember when I fought in Texas for women to be able to get credit cards. Texas had the first ERA passed in the country.
Didn't you have a woman governor back then?
No.
Oh, she wasn't there yet.
She wasn't. That's one of the things that got her there.
Yeah.
But we do gaslight ourselves if the first thing you turn on is the ugliest. I mean, I have all kinds of news feeds. I could watch the Talking Orange one or Elon Musk, America's current poster child for Home Alone. And I don't watch them. What I look for is the good news stories. Like I was telling Teri, this weekend when a lot of veterans groups met, because this was a time when they decided to, in timing with the thing on Friday in Washington, which was huge, but no one covered it, so you had to go look for it. But I didn't realize this, but most all the veterans groups that met all over the country, what they did is they didn't say, we're going to shoot them all, we're going to take it back. They stood and they resaid their oath to the American Constitution. And then they had people standing up giving speeches about what it means to be tied to the Constitution and what we lose if we lose that tie. And ego, I like that. Edges got out.
Yeah. Deanne, that's amazing. I wonder if people ever think and talk about God more than a politician. Ego, to me, edges God out. I love that.
And it's not just in the world of politics. Today, a pastor of one of our largest independent Bible churches in Dallas, who's been accused of and is going on trial for molesting a girl from the age of 12 to 17. He turned himself in today. He'd been avoiding it to this point, but he could not turn himself in because it ends up he'd been in Oklahoma before he was here. And there was a child abused in Oklahoma. And apparently there had been outcries and proof. But because he had so much influence up there, they couldn't get it to go anywhere. But a lawyer documented it and locked it down. There's an old law in Oklahoma, and it's an old horse thief law, that if you jump state lines to avoid prosecution, the day you become liable for prosecution, there's no statute of limitations. It starts that day. And last week they filed in Oklahoma against him for the other girl. So you can't stay. If you got one accusation, you can stay out of jail in Texas. 2, your butt's in jail. So trust me, I have seen pastors get away with literally murder. I went to theology school with Walker Raleigh, and my ex was in theology school with Walker Raleigh and his wife. Walker Raleigh, eventually she died, but he tried to kill her. He was head of the First United Methodist Church in Dallas. And someone crept in at night and strangled her. And he never got convicted in the criminal trial because the jury, the pinging off the phone towers with the cell phone was new. But they proved he was in that house at the time it happened. And the jury said, well, we don't know what that technology is. So I've seen pastor people I actually physically met. Remember talking with his wife. She was, oh, isn't it wonderful being a pastor's wife? And she had gone to SMU to meet a pastor to marry him. I mean, there's a big theology. Anyway, long story short, I have met them, and I cannot tell you, this is a change I thought I'd never see in my lifetime. So
Where they're prosecuting?
Yeah, I mean, well, Walker, eventually they got him in a civil suit. He'll never earn a dime. The other thing about Walker was his children were in the house, and his oldest child was old enough to be of cognitive age. And the next day, after they put her, she lived for 25 years in a vegetative state. The family moved the kids out of the state. They moved them to Arkansas, and as far as I know, and they have never seen their father again. And there are people I know kind of in the mix down in the who said they were too terrified of what it would do to the kid, to him, to put him on, and they were afraid that the jury wouldn't have believed him. They would have thought he was being manipulated, so they didn't risk it. But somewhere there's two little boys. They were little boys, and I'm sure deep inside they still are, whose mother got killed. And when she eventually died, then it was murder charges. But he'd already been up for attempted murder and double jeopardy and all that crap. But he'll never earn another dime without it. I mean, there are people who have made it their life's work to make sure he lives in hell while he's on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. I was abused by an ex, and he was sent to prison, tried to kill me, and then tried to kill the next partner that he had, somebody that had married, a young woman.
Mm-hmm.
When she found out that I had this had happened to me and the police had been involved, and nothing was ever done, she was so upset with the friend group that she had, because they were all his friends.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "You mean you never listened to her?" And I said, "No, he just passed away 2 years ago."
I was reading cards at a Halloween party, and I always start out with the Celtic cross, and let's see what's going on around you the next 3 months. Lovely young woman sat down next to me, and she's looking at me. She was not as outgoing as the other women in the room. They were all rising in the executive ranks of various companies. Lovely group of women. I still read them every Thanksgiving. Every Halloween. And this woman sat down and she looked at me and she goes, what's going on around me? And I looked up at her and I said, "When did you die?"
Ooh.
And she said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Keep your mouth." She revealed that what I'd said was true. And I said, "Who tried to kill you?" And it ends up, he crept up behind her, strangled her, and then he got afraid, or she didn't die or something. Anyway, she ended up in the hospital. But by the time she came to, 4 days later, he had convinced them that they'd been involved with kinky sex, and it was an accident, and they never charged him. So, and she went around, and no one would, and like you said, all of their friends, none of the women in that room that we were in knew anything about it. And I said, "Well, you had an NDE," because she told about the people that made her come back. And she said, "What's an NDE?" She knew nothing about that. So I spent the next half hour teaching her about NDEs, teaching her about people that had near-death experiences. I knew there were at least 2 groups in Dallas that met and discussed it. Got her in touch with one of them. I gave her the information. I said, "You do with it what you want, but you have to deal with this." Yeah. And she, a year later, same Halloween party, she shows up. Looks much better. And I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "I don't know how I ended up finding you, but," she went to an NDE group, and in the NDE group was a woman attorney who'd had an NDE, not from someone trying to kill her, but had one. And the attorney said, "No, we're going to the police with this. If the hospital didn't listen to stuff, we're going to go make sure." And so they went down, and they couldn't help her in the criminal unit, but they took her to the sex offense unit, which in Dallas is a very well-trained group. And a woman in the sex offense unit listened to her story. They said, "Will you take a lie detector?" She said, yes, they did. They said, "Okay, we're going to keep a file on him because we're going to meet him again." 6 months later, he tried to kill the next girl, except he killed her. And and he did the same bullshit story. Mm-hmm. He didn't even get out of the emergency room. They had him on a watch list. He was picked up by the police, brought down. She said, and I said, well, how are you feeling about it now? And then she said, he went without a trial because they were going to bring her in to testify. And he was in the prison unit. He had been sent down to Central Texas. He was never getting out. And she said, she said, the one thing I feel bad about is I couldn't save the other woman. And I said, but think of all the other women you have saved, because that wasn't going to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what happened with Wayne. He got 76 years. And I felt really bad that I hadn't come forward at the time, but I couldn't handle it. I moved away.
Somebody just tried to kill you, and it's somebody you trusted. Who are you going to trust?
Yeah.
That's what I told her. And she said, if that woman attorney hadn't been in that group, she would have just kept telling her story about the angels bringing her back. And she said she knew what to do. And she said it was all laid out so that, because apparently this guy, I don't know who he was, I don't know anything else about him. He came from a very wealthy family in Dallas, and they were pretty much able to buy him out of anything he did. Matter of fact, when she quit dating him, all the women said, you're crazy. He's got yin. And she said, no, we just don't get along. That's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
And in case you wonder, when I read people, that's the only person I ever read that I thought had died. I don't see that kind. Normally my things are lovely. You have puppies and kittens and you have a wonderful life.
Yeah. Hey, Diana. Diana just pulled into the garage. I'm gonna read a quote here, you guys, by
Deepak. So we're talking about gaslighting.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to gaslighting away from that. That's another whole story, though, that we should go into sometime.
Mm-hmm.
The ego, however, is not who you really are. The ego is your self-image. It is your social mask. It is the role you are playing. Your social mask thrives on approval. It wants control, and it is sustained by power because it lives in fear. And that kind of describes a lot of what's going on the planet right now, I think.
Right.
It's really something.
You know what fear is? Fear is face everything and recover, or F everything and run. And there are no Nike shoes that can make you outrun it, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. Anyway, I also have a few other things I wanted to say. What is the ego? In a spiritual and psychological terms, the ego is our sense of self, our identity, beliefs, thoughts, and the way we perceive ourselves in relation to the world. It is the I that separates us from others, helping us navigate life, but also sometimes creating illusions of limitation, fear, and attachment.
Mm-hmm.
So it can help us with survival and protection, identity and expression, navigation of the physical world. Those are great things. When it becomes a problem, it's fear and control, comparison and separation, and an attachment to identity. Like, I have to live here. I can't possibly move. But yeah, we can. I can't possibly change jobs. I can't possibly. There's a lot of things that we think we're stuck in every morning when we wake up, but it's really amazing how much we've got. So yeah.
And the thing is, that's what I said. This all got triggered because I found an article about gaslighting. It makes you doubt your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own perceptions. And then there's a lot of ways people are gaslighted. You can be gaslit in a job where people convince you, yeah, you can leave this job, you'll never get another one, and that kind of stuff. But here's some of the points. Denial of reality. When people around you say, oh, that never happened, or you're imagining things, or you're making big deals out of nothing. I worked in a tax department where they had me breaking laws all the time, and they I'm smart enough to read the tax codes. And, I always made sure that someone above me's signature was on everything. So they couldn't say, oh, well, nope, your signature is on the line that when the state says, we're going to come get the person who did this. And when they figured out I was doing that, they were more than happy to let me transfer to another department. They twist the truth, rewrite events so that you don't understand the narrative, claiming you misunderstood what they said. Now, sometimes we don't hear things right. But most of the time, if you're getting gaslighted in the news, it's because they're trying to convince you that what your ears heard and what your eyes saw wasn't true. And the other one can be blaming you for something they did. And then what I hate is when people trivialize my feelings. They're my feelings. Get the hell off of them. I'm not too sensitive. I'm not overreacting. And I always make everything very dramatic.
Well, people aren't trained to listen, are they? And of course, I'm interrupting you here, but
No,
I'm
that's
just going to say, we're not trained to listen, and we don't listen well. And sometimes all you want to do is just let it out, right?
right.
Yeah.
And you don't want them to respond back.
Mm-mm.
Just,
You don't have to fix it.
I haven't ranted on any of you recently, but trust me, if I rant on you, you'll know it. Withhold information or stonewalling, that's another thing. When people say, oh, I don't want to discuss that. And it's something that's someone close to you and it's going to have an effect on your life. Changing the subject when confronted, that's a big one. Giving vague, dismissive answers is another way. This was one my ex was real good about. Projecting their actions onto you. We were late for that because of what I did, not because he ran off the car and didn't come back in time. Or you're the one who's lying about that situation, not me. All my friends say I'm telling the truth. And towards the end of my marriage, the first one, and I didn't end the second one this way with the divorce, but I said, okay, let's start calling them up and seeing who agrees with me. Well, he didn't have time for that. And then he'd say I was manipulating him, which was totally true. I'll manipulate away. You manipulate at me, I'll manipulate at you. And I guess the one that gets me is questioning your memory. Are you sure? And in this time of change, I have found out through a couple of different things that came up, and I'm not going to go into all of them because it's really kind of boring, but I thought I hadn't done something I'd promised someone I would do. And when I wrote my email, said, I'm sorry I didn't make this event. I'm sorry. And she said, you were there. And that's the first one. And so I went back in the corner and said, I'm at an age where when people start telling you you're missing stuff, you're going to go, And my guides told me, no, you've been jumping through so many timelines since last summer. Things get lost in the cracks. So now things are just getting lost in the cracks. People use others against you. They'll go to them quietly and then, you have no credibility. This one, I never got the love bombing, but I did get withholding affection. That's the same coin, just which side you're standing on. That's one. My ex was really good at saying I never said that. So I ended up keeping a diary because, yeah, he did. Or I agreed to something that there's no way in 100 years I'd have said yes to that situation. And, my other one was, we've done this before and you were always happy. Maybe I wasn't. Now I'm saying I'm sure I'm not. And the other thing, and this is the one I notice most in my friends that got really deeply into abusive relationships, they end up isolating you from your friends. And this can be a lover. I had a therapist once, and her last stage, and when I pulled out is when I saw this happening. All your friends should be through the people I work with. She was creating a cult. And I said, no, I can't do that.
Wow. Good for you.
But it took a bit, and I actually took one of my friends saying, that's the weirdest offer in the world. And then she and I talked, and she knew this woman, but I'd already been warned, oh, don't go near her. And the reason is because I don't want to participate in um, your games. Oh, oil painter. That was my mother. We don't talk about things beyond the door of this house because therefore no one can ever know. And it's,
Well, yeah, and when we're raised with trauma, that's a real easy thing to go into a relationship and go into that.
Mhm.
Yeah, we keep it quiet. Make sure you're a nice little girl. Be a nice little girl. Anyway, or a nice little man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so while we're talking about that, I'm really thinking about, and this has been huge lately for everybody, I think, is the working with your throat chakra
Hmm.
and your solar plexus, your other
Hmm.
brain, like what you feel. And in our solar plexus, we carry a lot of ancestral karma too, like
Hmm.
the way that we've been brought up and what's happened to not just our grandparents, but like, 10 generations ago, what's in your geome,
Hmm.
what you've inherited, that fight or flight response from, your village being pillaged or something. And anyway, but using our throat clearly, and you're really good at that, Nancy Jean, speaking your voice and having your feelings being heard
Hmm.
clearly and precisely. And for me to speak clearly and precisely, especially as a sensitive, I was like, I would be thinking everything, but it would not always be coming out of my mouth the way I wanted it to.
Hmm.
And I can't say that it still does, but I am more, I think I'm better at it now.
Hmm.
That's the easiest way to say it. And I'm still working on it, right? We're always a work in progress. So,
Oh, yeah.
with ego, we really judge ourselves and like, why did you say that? Why did you look like that? Why did you, feel that?
Hmm.
And we do talk a lot more about ourselves than we do about others to ourselves. I think they say that gossiping is like one of the worst things that you can do. It lowers your vibration faster
Hmm.
than anything else. And I really feel, or one of the things it does, and I really feel like when we gossip about ourselves to ourselves, might be a one up on that. When we talk, when you look in the mirror, when you wake up, and some days, and you might feel like, oh gosh, you just don't have it this time, kid.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, gossip can be a form of addiction, Stephanie. That's a really good point. It totally can be a form of addiction. So, yeah, it's it's easy to get into and some what's funny is some friendships are kind of based on it.
Oh,
That
yeah.
gossiping. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So, I say I am sovereign now. I love that awesomeness. That's
That is good.
beautiful. Yeah.
Because when you have your own sovereignty, people can't pull those games on you. I mean, they know I'm going to run into this.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Anyway, so we can take some uh, readings today if you guys want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
and
I've been starring a few things, but I think they're
all the
mostly good.
people who do have power still that are in the parts of the country that were ravaged by the tornadoes and
Mm,
the windstorms and all the other stuff. My heart goes out to you because I've always lived where there were tornadoes. In Illinois, I remember going home from school one day and my mom, I came through the door and she said, oh, thank God you got home. And I said, why? And a tornado had blown a school bus off the road. I mean, and you just lived, and that's before they had NOAA, and they told you 10 days before they got there. But the ones that went through, I saw a man who managed to pull his grandmother out of her house. The only room that survived in the house was her bedroom, and she was in the closet, and she was pinned in the closet. We had a tornado go through Dallas, right, most 2 years before COVID, I think, and it swathed through. It was called It's called $1 billion tornado, because it swooped where I live right now. It lost the roof.
I
We
remember
lived
that.
here at the time. But I had a friend who he found out where it had hit, and he was calling all his friends that lived in that area to see if they were safe. And this one couple said, "Oh my God, how did you get through?" And he said, "What do you mean, how did I get through?" And they were pinned in a closet off of their garage, and they hadn't been found, and they were stuck in this awful garage. And so um, he he went down to this. Of course, police stopped you. You couldn't get any further. He said, "Here's their address. They're in the garage. For some reason, their phones won't call in, but I could call. I call out, but I could call into them." They went and dug them out of the garage. He took them home. All they had was literally the clothes on their backs, and he took them home, took care of them. And the husband went back the next day and said, "Well, I need to go get in the house and see if I can get to the vault." And his wife said, "Oh, yeah, we have a vault of papers and stuff in the house." Well, he went back for the vault with the guns, and he killed himself. He
Oh,
really couldn't live with it. And they kept saying, "No one died in that tornado." Well, someone does. Someone's hurting. Someone's grieving. If you have any way you can reach out or just give them all our best thoughts. It will. Today looks horrible. Tomorrow it will be looking a little slight bit brighter. And um, all we had was dust storms, and I'll take dust storms over what they had.
yeah. Missouri got hit. I'm in
That's where the lady
northwest
was that got
Missouri.
pulled out of her house, was in Missouri.
Yeah, yeah. It gets pretty good here. Oh, Janet. Yeah. You stashed your cats in the closet on Friday. The wind was terrible. Repeatedly threw open my inside sunroom door from the force. Yeah, my cat scooted out when I opened the door, Janet. And he doesn't weigh what, 8 pounds, and and then he came all the way around the house and came in the front door. Thank goodness. But yeah, we had all that wind. That wind was crazy on Friday.
Yeah, and it's 163-mile-an-hour winds. That on the ground in Missouri, that's what they were clocking so much.
Man, yeah,
That's like go to the coast and be in a hurricane, but at least you have 2 days while they say it's coming, it's coming.
yeah, yeah. Hi, Vicky. Vicky says, my kids and family are all safe in Missouri. My daughter and grandkids had tornadoes all around them. Oh, honey, I'm so glad they're okay. And hello, Sharon Sive. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for being
Mhm.
here and all your help always. Thomas at Terrell, your way. Oh, we don't go around spreading rumors. Oh, really? We're not the gossiping kind. You'll never hear one of us gossip. So you better be sure and listen close to this the first time. Right, Thomas? It's a hard one, isn't it? And every once in a while, I will find myself saying something to
Have
somebody
you
like,
heard this about this person? Woo woo.
"Yeah, yeah, right." And I have to think about, okay, are you sharing or are you gossiping? And which way does it look? And then not judge myself too bad if I say something. So the Dawa of the monastery in Nepal that we're affiliated with. And
Hmm.
anyway, we were talking, we were having a conversation, and he said, Teri, this is Dawa the man, not Dawa the monk saying this right now, but I want to tell you something. And
Oh no.
I was like, so ever since then, I'm like, okay, let's turn off Terry, the intuitive or whatever you want to call me, or the friend, and let's turn on Terry, the just a person, just a girl.
Mm-mm.
So
Um,
anyway,
Hypnicity wanted a message from her guides.
oh, good. Where did you see
It's
that?
in capitals. It's at 1136.
Oh, thanks. There it is. She is. Hypnicity.
Helps to
Okay.
have two eyes on the chat. Guys, you have no idea what it's like to try and talk and try to speak and try to stay in touch with energies.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's Liz.
You got a good message to begin with. Your higher intentions are very close to the back of your mind. They're telling you you've been thinking about moving or changing something in your spiritual practice. It's saying don't go there, that there's not a value to what you thought you've seen. But coming in very closely is the world. A lot's going to fall together for you, but please be patient. And it's going to take 3 days to 3 months for it to completely coalesce. But tie into this card if you got cards, the High Priestess. Tie into her. She's really ready to sit down and have some words and reveal some stuff to you. Okay?
Okay. I got flow with the rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So hypnicity, like kind of dance with it. But also, I mean, we've had so much moon action going on right now.
Oh, God.
And just kind of be in the flow with it. Like just, what that means. Like
Mm-hmm.
dance with it and let it come forth. Like sometimes we get scared and we try to hold things back, like compartmentalize, like, oh, I'm going to just push all my fear in here and all my anger and all my joy. And I'm not going to let anything come forth. But give yourself permission to feel it. It's okay to feel that way. And you can say, I am Hypnicity, the woman, and I am feeling this because you are enough just the way you are, honey. So,
Yeah, and
beautiful.
you don't need to push it. You may have heard of something that sounded, oh, that seemed to be like a quick fix for them. It's not. Your stuff's coming slowly and surely, and you don't need to move from where you are right now in order to gain it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I want patience and I want it now.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Next.
Stephanie,
Yeah.
hello, Hypnicity.
I would love a reading or a message from my guides.
Okay. Deciding which way to do it, which deck to use. Okay.
Stephanie, are you kind of I kind of get this thing that you're kind of looking around at stuff and trying to figure out what's next. So I don't know if you're interested in making a move with your job or your house or just the universe. Like what's going on? Which there's a lot of us in here that are going through that right now. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Do you want to talk? Or you want me to go?
You go ahead.
I see you're looking at making a financial change and you're actually sitting down and planning out a budget and working it out and figuring it out. And you're doing it because you've gotten around some new people who live their lives differently than some of the people you've been surrounded by. And they're really helping you feel comfortable. Okay. And you're becoming your full self. You've tried to be the Queen of Pentacles and you're finding out you should be the Queen of Wands. You should be the idea person, not just always the money person. It's not going to come through for you until fall. And you got the same thing. You have to wait until you haven't met all the people you need to meet to make it work. But you're started on the right track.
Wow. Just store those and then I'll talk. So yeah, the card I pulled was new beginnings. So yeah, some new stuff that's starting up for you. Definitely seeing that. I feel like you're going to be working with abundance on that. This the land of enchantment. Like whatever you're creating with this and working with the medicine wheels and I love the combination of the Marys and the medicine wheels because that's something new. Like whenever we create something and make it our own, it's
Right.
so important. You do that. You teach people how to do the grids and whatnot, and to read the cards and to make it their own. And you're going to be going into the subtle senses. So, Stephanie, I don't know if is it clairsentience? No, that's touch, right? Clairvoyance?
Clairaudience.
Clairaudience. Thank you. Yeah. Clairaudience. I feel like you're going to be listening to somebody. Somebody's bringing you a lot of information. Okay. Next. LT's got a question here. Hello, my father threw me in the deep end of the pool at age 6. I only remember the water and light shining. Who got me out? It wasn't my father. I don't remember who got me out. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to pull an oracle card on that one. This is I find this a very powerful deck, Sword of Light by Radley Valentine. Radley doesn't need any more money. Radley has lots of money, but this is an excellent deck, and he does do a good job.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, I like Radley.
You've met him, haven't you?
Yeah, I gave him a deck. He used to have a online radio show kind of thing on Sundays when I was driving into where I read cards on Sundays. And he was talking about how he'd heard about this hillbilly deck and he'd never seen it. And he's from that area. And so when I went to see him in Austin, it was the second time I'd seen him. He and Fraser was creating their color theory stuff. Anyway, when he was there, at the store I worked at, they had the hillbilly deck. So I bought it for cost and took it to him. And that deck is hysterical. I won't read with it because it's got rebel flags in it, but it's got some hysterical images like the Empress is a farmer's daughter. And my favorite image in the whole deck is the moon. And you know how there's a little crescent moon on most outhouses? Well, in that deck, the outhouse is the moon. And if you think about some of the images and how we think the moon works, that works. So he and I sat at the front of the room, and it was a room full of people in Austin. And he said, I want to go through this deck with you. And we went through it card by card while everybody waited. And he said, purple hair, you did it again. The first time I met him, I had dyed my hair purple, and I went to Denver to meet with him. And I told him, he said, how will I recognize you? And I said, I have purple hair. And when he walked in the room, he went, oh my God, you do have purple hair. Okay.
Wow.
Who got you out of the pool? Your prayers are being answered. You must have been praying like a little son of a bitch when you're under the water. But an angel pulled you out. Your prayers were being received by the divine, and it will always come forward in ways you may not always expect. So, yeah, you don't remember the angel, but that's who pulled you out.
Yeah. LT, I feel like this is all about relaxation. Like you were just in there and looking. And when we go through it was like an out of body experience rather than NDE. So it was a life forming event for you to make you look at things a little deeper. And I feel like that's what you were doing. You got the concentration card. So really looking at things deeply through your life. This was like a gift in a way. And I agree. I think it was one of your guides or an angel that helped you out.
I can tell you who it was. The elementals are screaming at me. It was one of our water elementals. We don't want people killing their kids in our space.
Yeah. Yeah. But lots of love to you, LT. That's a really profound experience to have at 6. Yeah. You're so welcome, dear. Let's see.
We were at Liz in awe. We were at Liz in
Yeah,
awe.
I got her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. May I have a message about what is next for me? Have several challenges, including Social Security already lowered. Thank you. Liz has had some health issues too this past month. She's been at the Cleveland Clinic.
Mm.
So, Liz, are you still up there or are you back in Mexico? Oh, she's back in Cozumel.
Well, you're going to have to start taking more action. That's what they're showing me. You've always kind of believed things you believed, and you've held tight on to what you thought was going to work. You're going to have to look at things from a unique angle, and you have the skills and abilities to develop affectionate and creative approaches. You don't want to do it because you'd rather do things like you know how to do them, but you're not going to engage in anybody's false fights. You're not going to get involved with Five of Swords. And the out card for you is the Hangman upside down. You're just going to have to make the motions, take the steps. Trust me, I would rather do anything than fight bureaucracy. And a lot of the people who are left of Social Security are working really hard to try and make it better for everyone they touch. So I don't know if that's going to be a lot of things are going to change around what people think is going to be happening to them, Liz. You may be anticipating listening to the talking heads who are all like, Social Security's next. I guarantee you, they don't want the veterans and they don't want little old people on their doorsteps because we got nothing else to do all day. You won't see me for 3 or 4 weeks if I have to go after those guys. So.
Yeah, you had a card that kind of looked like this one that you pulled, Nancy.
Right, the lovers upside down.
Yeah, the lovers. Yeah. So sincere relationships. I don't know if you're interested if that is a guide helping or a friend helping you out here, or if that is perhaps a roommate. But I do feel like you've got people helping you.
Right.
And we've talked about that before. I mean, the Catholic Church is so strong there in Cozumel. Social services, so Catholic charities. But it's like you've been working on this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been working on getting a healing center together.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel like something's happening with that. And listen to your body. Like just be real gentle. You know, this little sprite looks like she's ready to jump up and out. So be gentle with yourself. You've been through a lot. But
the other thing is, I think this card would indicate to me you're used to running it yourself. That's the 4 of coins. Is what that is. And this is like you got to let go and let other people help you. You can't do this on your own.
I just want to post this. Tammy came in and said her stepfather is in the hospital with stage 4 cancer. We probably won't read on him crossing over or how he's feeling, but I tell you what I will do, Tammy, is I'm going to put him on my prayer list. And I've got a group of people that meet every morning and we meditate and we send healings. So if you want to post in his name, I'll put him on there. Oh, no help from the Catholic churches there? Huh. If there's one in Cancun or Playa that you can ask, perhaps. So, okay. Next. It does feel like there's somebody there on the island that can help you, dear. Okay. Jana, a message from your guides.
Okay. Okay, I got a message. They said you're thinking about you're really watching the situation, but all the rest of the cards basically say to me, you're in no position to make some of the changes you're thinking about making, and to please not make them, because if you do make some of them, you could set yourself up for harm. So their message for you is caution and listen to them. They're there day to day with you. We're just here right now.
Yeah. I got something about your soulmate, Jana. Do you have somebody with you on this side that's I don't know if you're married or in a relationship or a partnership, but it feels like there might be a conversation that needs to be had. So kind of look at your intention when that conversation comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a really good outcome to it. It's just be really clear about what you're saying. Can you excuse me for a minute? I just got a phone call that I need to take ASAP
Okay.
about somebody that's sick. So just be a minute.
Okay. She went away. Jana, what I see around your situation is you just need to take it day to day and learn to trust your own guides, and you'll feel when the situation is right for you. I didn't feel a soulmate or anything like that. Maybe that's someone who isn't here yet. You don't have all the pieces you need to make the decision. And just do the next thing you can do that feels right. And that would be helpful. And I think I do know who Jana is. I know who Jana is. Okay. What's going on my end? Oh, Saturday I built or designed, did the basic design on 6 grids. And so depending on how I feel when Teri and I are finished here. So I was telling Teri I got a new toy. I've been having problems with my neck. Been going to a chiropractor and they've been loosening it, but it's not going. I need to do more every day. So I got a pillow that tilts my head back to the right angle, and then it vibrates and it has heat. And it really helps me when I get up, moving my head, making sure I'm increasing my range of motion. And I've been doing that every day. Okay, now they don't get to hear about my pillow anymore.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry about that, you guys. My sister's been quite ill, and I'm taking her to the doctor today. So I wanted to make sure I took good care of her. Edward, any guidance from SF Good today? Is that San Francisco good or someone? SF Good.
I'm clueless.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Then he says, any guidance from SG's spirit guides for the week ahead? Thank you and greetings. Okay, that I understand.
Okay. SFs, we're going who?
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Okay, you've been thinking about moving things around. This is a don't. This is a watch your money. And because some emotional situation is going to come up that's going to trigger off some money stuff around you. And because you now are forewarned, do not freak when you see the next card. It's not all going to fall down. You get past it. Just be, if you get confronted with something, give yourself time before you respond to it. But it's all stuff you can handle, because there was not a card in there that said you can't handle it. It's don't be pushed to make movements you don't want to make.
Yeah, that's such good advice for right now. I know that came up in my astrology reading too for this month, is not to look at like making rash decisions financially, because everything's crazy right now, right? And I would have sold some stuff that I shouldn't sell. So have trust in yourself, and watch, keep an eye out, like Nancy.
Yeah, you can handle it. Everything that's happening, just don't jump.
Yeah, 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 and that's it. When we react in fear, it's not a good place to go. That's ego. But when we react in looking at things in curiosity, and then, looking at everything that's going on, it makes a big difference. So really watching ahead and being grateful.
Right.
That state of grace. And acceptance, like ride the wave. this little fairy is just riding her wave with her dolphin. She's not looking at a tsunami coming in, because she knows she's got this. So best of luck to you. Well, I've got to get going. I'm gonna call back my sister and have a further talk with her about her health today. So
you had one question you missed, and I've been watching it.
Okay.
Simple Life. You got the Wheel of Fortune. You're okay.
Who was it?
Simple Life.
Oh, okay. Hi, Simple Life. Sorry about that, dear.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was watching her and she was in between, and I was like, okay. I will be on again tomorrow. And I will be on with Deborah Supian. I'm going to find out what she does.
Oh, nice. I'm going to have her on next month.
Yeah. So
yeah.
And I'm sure you'll do a much better job of interviewing her about what she does, because what she does is so different from what I do. But I'm going to let you run and go grab your sister, and let everybody else go grab the rest of their days. Keep your heads up. Don't listen to half the junk you hear.
Yeah. Amen to that. All right. Well, thanks so much, Nancy Jean. I'll see you
Bye-bye.
next week. Bye, everybody.